So welcome once again to Success Course 7. In this video, we're going to be discussing on how to achieve an A star in O-Levels English 1123 within 10 days. So basically what happens with English is that it's one of those subjects that we think we are good at, and that overconfidence and relaxation we have, that actually leads us to believe that English is easy, we're going to do it. But the thing is, we actually miss some of the important stuff that can help us guarantee and achieve an A star. So in this video, we're going to be discussing some quick strategies and some tips which we can use to ensure that we get at least an A star in this subject, because it's quite easy to score that. And I'll be going through each and every section, and there'll be separate videos for paper 1 and paper 2. So let's get straight into it. So first, for paper 1, the first section we get in the paper 1, basically our paper 1 is divided into two sections. Section 1 is directed writing, and section 2 we get a narrative essay, an argumentative essay, or a descriptive essay. We get some options. So first, let's talk about section 1. So in section 1, directed writing, we get either a speech or a report or a letter to write. The letter can be formal or informal, that depends on the question. And we'll be discussing some strategies that you can use to ensure that you get maximum marks in this section 1. So first of all, I'd like you to grab any random past paper from the internet. There are a lot of websites, gceguide.com, etc. So you can just go ahead, open that past paper, and take the directed writing question and just sit down and solve it. In these 10 days, I want you to do that at least once a day. What that will do is that it will, train your brain. You will be seeing some pattern in the questions. You'll know how to attempt the questions, and when you will be appearing in your examination, you'll know how to attempt that. So that's the first tip. For section 2 composition, where we have a choice of either a narrative essay, an argumentative essay, or a descriptive essay. So here at this very moment, I want you to decide which one are you going to solve. At this point where we have 10 days left only, we need to know that which one we are going to attempt, so that we are mentally prepared and psychologically, there's one thing in our brain that it tells us that, yes, I'm going to do this stuff. So you know how to solve that. And that will prevent, exam stress when you're actually sitting in front of the paper and attempting it. So it's actually useful to decide right now and right here which option are you going to decide. So if you're uncertain, let me help. I'd recommend you to write the argumentative essay, because it's basically a choice most people do these days. So in argumentative, you have a question which gives you an argument. So basically, you have to write some points for the argument and some points against the argument. And in the end, you'll have to make a conclusion on about what is your opinion about that and which side do you support and why. So it's basically easy because it's easy to reach the maximum word limit. And for format and stuff, you can check the link in the description. I have uploaded all formats on that link. So argumentative essay is the best choice if you're an average student and you're, you want to get full marks, and you want to get full marks in that section too. Coming to the descriptive writing is the least chosen task, and I'd only recommend you to do that if you have a significant amount of practice and you have a good vocabulary and all that. But still, it is recommended not to attempt this question because it takes some time for you to decide and plan on what to write on this one. So it basically kind of, you'll need more time to do that, and we have 1 hour and 30 minutes. It's kind of a bit difficult in that. Now, coming to the narrative writing, actually the thing is that narrative writing has one advantage that the other two options, argumentative and descriptive, do not have. So if you are going with narrative writing and you're a good reader, you have a significant amount of vocabulary as well, and you like to read fiction and stuff, and you have even made stories yourself. So if you're going with narrative writing, there's one thing you can do to ensure that you get at least a maximum level answer, which gets you maybe 25 or more marks out of 30. So if you're going with narrative, I'd recommend you to write 5 to 10 story plots beforehand. So in these 10 days, I want you to sit down and plan. Just sit down and think about any fiction story, and you have to write a plot. Here's an example. So basically, a plot is a basic sequence of events, a generalized sequence of events, which you can use and fit that into any question. So let me show you an example. Here we are showing a plot of a story, and if we want to fit this into 2 separate questions, here are 2 past paper questions. So if we want to fit this single plot into 2 of these questions, so we can do that by this. So as you can see now that we have a single plot, and we are using that to fit into the story. So I just want you to write 5 to 10 different story plots, and I want you to choose any one of them which you like the best, which you think that you have more interest in doing that. You can pick whatever you want. Basically, you have 5 to 10 options. You have to choose the best one. And now I want you to sit down and write a complete narrative essay from using that plot. So what this will do is that on examination day, when you'll be sitting, you'll be attempting a question. You can read the question and you can fit that entire story into that plot. So what that does was the use of this is that you have a better vocabulary. You can use as much time as you want because you are writing this plot at home, and you have unlimited time. 10 days is like 240 hours, and we have 240 hours to decide and perfect our script. So we can basically put as much time as we want in this thing, and it will create a very good kind of script. And when the paper comes, you can just apply it and get the full marks. So it will help with time management as well. You already know what to write. You won't need to think about that. And apart from that, you'll basically have an idea from the beginning on what to write. So that's very useful. So these were some tips regarding each of the different sections. Coming to the general tips, first and foremost, I'd recommend you that you should write at least to the maximum word limit. For example, in section 1, directed writing, the maximum word limit is usually 300 words. So I want you to write somewhere near that, some 270 words, maybe 290 words, and maximum 300. What that does is that it ensures that your answer is of best quality. The examiner has mentioned in examiner report that those students who write to the maximum word limit, they are the most ones who get A stars and A's. And those who write to the lower side of the limit, for example, 250 words, they are less probable to achieve an A star. So if you want an A or A star, I'd recommend you to write to the maximum word limit, which is 300 for directed writing and 500 for the section 2. So if you write to the maximum word limit, then you're more probable to achieve an A star, and that's exactly what our target is. Coming to the second one, before attempting the question, it is recommended to just plan out your entire draft, a rough draft of your question or your answer. So basically, for example, if you're writing a narrative essay and you remember the tip I told you about the plot, so you will have memorized that plot before, obviously. So when you sit down and attempt the paper, the section 2, you just have to write that. You just have to put a heading of rough draft and write that entire plot, and then you have to put a heading of final draft and write the question. Now, what this does is that, again, the examiner has mentioned in examiner report that it provides an evidence that you have planned out your question thoroughly. And in case you miss some marks in your final draft, the examiner can refer to that plot or that rough draft which you have made in your answer sheet, and he can award you marks. It's basically a backup way to save your marks, and also it again increases the probability of you achieving an A star. So exactly, that's again our goal, and I recommend you to write that. Finally, you should be careful about spelling and punctuation, as that is a really important thing. If you have written a best quality, maybe you can say that you have written an author quality answer to your question, but still there are some spelling mistakes, there are some punctuation mistakes, then you will lose more than half of the marks. So there's a mark for language and there's a mark for content. You may be awarded full marks for the content, but your language marks will be significantly cut down. And we don't want that. If we want to achieve an A star, we want the maximum marks possible, obviously. So you should prevent spelling mistakes. And the way you can do that is just when you have completed your entire answer, you just have to go through it again. And in case you have made any mistake, just, add that exclamation mark or question mark, and you can add that comma. You can just cut down the wrong spelling and write a correct one above it. That's acceptable. So basically, that's how you ensure that you achieve full marks in your paper 1, both for directed writing and for the section 2. Now, coming to the format, I don't think that's something that we need to discuss. So I'll just leave a link in the description. You can go ahead and check the format and use that to write your answers. Thank you.